We are here on Dryland Conversations. The Galilee Marathon Swimming Association is hosting meetings with inspiring figures from the world of marathon swimming for personal and engaging live conversations on issues close to our hearts. We call this series Dryland Conversations, and it is our way to try and get the open water swimming community together, if not for swimming, then at least to be inspired during the lockdown or curfew or shelter-in-place COVID situation, depending on where you are. The Galilee Association aims to promote the field of marathon swimming in Israel. Its role is to support, document, and approve marathon swims conducted in the Sea of Galilee and elsewhere in Israel by local swimmers and also for those coming from abroad. My name is Guy Cohen, an active marathon open swimmer and co-founder and chairman of the Galilee Marathon Swimming Association. So, welcome everybody. We have a huge audience tonight, an international crowd which is joining us. It is our Israeli Independence Day, and what a great way to throw in a party for all swimmers out there. So, thank you for joining in. Here are some facts you should know about our special guest today, Sarah Tomos. We are joining in the second half of our conversation with Sarah Tomos.
I was Catalina number 2.
It killed me. I did not have my nutrition right. It was my very first long swim, and I didn't know what I was doing. And so I bombed hard. The last 4 hours of the swim, I could, barely get my arms out. When I finished, I swore that I was never, ever swimming again. I was convinced that that was the last of it. I couldn't raise my arms over my head for a week. My recovery from Catalina was worse than any of my other swims, and I know nutrition was a huge part of it.
Let's go to a different issue altogether, and could you share with us the day and the feelings on the day that you were diagnosed with cancer?
Yeah, not my favorite day in life.
No.
So I finished the Lake Champlain swim in August of 2017, and I came out of it really confident. I had big plans for 2018. So many swims I wanted to do to train for this English Channel 4-way, because that was already planned. And so I came off of.
You planned the 4-way, you say, already starting in 2016, I think.
Yep. So, and I had. My slot for English Channel was booked as of April of 2017. So, when I finished Lake Champlain, the English Channel swim was going to be just like icing on a cake. And I was going to use 2018 to get ready for it, and I really felt just confident. And, I was, finally I've reached my prime, I can do anything. And then, I found a lump in my breast in October. And I was officially diagnosed in November. And, it takes your breath away. It's not something. I was 35. It's not something that you ever expect to hear. And you definitely don't expect it when you're 35. You feel like you're on top of the world. And you, in the moment that you hear, yeah, this is cancer, everything stops. Nothing else matters. And I was just filled with fear and grief. And it took a long time for me to move past those feelings. It was really hard on my husband, and I think the two of us were just terrified. Neither of us are really, we don't cry very much. And, I can think of so many nights where, we just laid in bed and sobbed together. But at some point, you find out that the treatment's working, and things start to look a little bit positive, and you can move past some of that grief and terror. And, then you start to kind of believe that, okay, maybe I'm going to be okay. Maybe I'll get to swim again. And so, it just starts off small that, maybe I'll get back, maybe I can be myself again. until, you've got goals and dreams again.
That's interesting. So you did go through this phase of why me, right? Why me? Why is this happening to me? And when did you? And then gradually it took time until you said, okay, I'm going to fight this, right? And I'm going to get back to the water. When did you make that decision in your head?
Sure. So, from the very beginning, we're sitting in the oncologist office and she says, okay, you have this kind of cancer, here's your treatment plan. And my very next question is, can I swim during chemo? And they were like, yes, you can actually. And so I did. I started with chemo. I had about 5 months of chemo, and then I moved to a mastectomy, and then I finished with radiation therapy. And, I swam, 3 to 4 days a week during chemo because it made me feel better. And they really encouraged exercise. So it wasn't really until I had my mastectomy that I had to be out of the water for a while. And that was really hard to be recovering from a surgery. It was, June and July, and it was beautiful. And, all my friends are out at the lake swimming, and I can't. And so that was, mentally really hard to get through. And then, I'm, begging my surgeon, when can I get back in the water? When can I get in? And he wants to be cautious, and I think he's overly cautious. So, we had some arguments as to when I was allowed to swim again. But, by that point, I'd already had it in my mind that, I had to get ready for this English Channel swim, and having that goal, I think, helped me motivated, just to keep pushing and to not just, sit on the couch and feel sorry for myself. You need that motivation to keep going.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's really a good point. But mind you, I saw that actually while training for the English Channel, suddenly you appear in Cook in New Zealand.
Yeah.
What was that? How did you get to that point so early on, the stage of recovery?
Yeah, so
we were all surprised. She's in New Zealand?
Yeah. That was another swim. I think most of you know there's a long wait list for the Cook Strait. And I had been on the wait list for that Cook Strait swim for a long time, probably since 2016. So I'd been waiting, and I'd always wanted to do Cook Strait, and that was my date. And at one point he was like, can you come in like February? And I was like, I won't be ready in February. So we changed the date to March, and that was, exactly 6 months after the end of all of my cancer treatment. And it was a battle to get ready to swim the Cook Strait. I was maybe 60%. I wasn't swimming fast. Chemo made me gain weight, so I was, heavy, and I was not at my fittest, but I was determined to do this Cook Strait swim. I knew it would be a good test to get back in the water, to see where I was at, to kind of reaffirm that I was on the right track for the English Channel swim. And so the Cook Strait had a lot riding on it as my first swim back. And yeah, it was a really important swim as a piece of the recovery and a piece to getting ready for the English Channel.
Gaining back confidence, I assume.
Yeah, it was, the Cook Strait was hard. We had really terrible conditions. It took me like 15 hours, I think, and I was expecting it to take closer to 10. It really caught me off guard with how hard it was. And that was another swim kind of in the middle of it. I'm thinking, I don't know if mentally I have what it takes to do this 4-way English Channel. And I really did have to address mental demons and really push through. So in retrospect, it was really lucky that I had such a hard swim, because I do think it prepared me and gave me that hunger to get in for the English Channel.
Let's get to the English Channel now. Okay.
Yes. Are you guys ready?
Is everybody okay? Was it like a week, 2 weeks before this? You have this big window, right? Of at least 2 or 3 weeks. What was the plan? Yeah.
So the way that it works, so in the English Channel, you book with your boat captain, and they give you a slot on a tide. So usually a 1, 2, 3, or 4 slot number, and you go in order of preference. So I was booked with Eddie, and he gave me two weeks. So, but that spanned 2 different tides. So technically I was number 3 on my first week, and then I number 1 on the second week. So we didn't come super early because there was 2 swimmers who needed to go ahead of me. So I was only in England for 2 weeks. We were really hoping to go during the first tide. It was a neap tide, so I wouldn't have had such a crazy trek at the end of it all if I had been able to go on a neap tide. But the weather wasn't great. So, you know, in the English Channel, you're balancing tide preferences and weather preferences. And we knew that we needed to have at least 2 days. So by the time we got 2 days, we were well into a pretty strong spring tide, which meant that currents were big and strong. So yeah, there was a few days of pretty tense moments where Eddie, my boat captain, said that he didn't see a break in the window. He didn't think the weather was going to hold out for us, and he didn't think I was going to be able to swim. And so we were all in a panic of like, oh gosh, I've done all this training, we're here, and we're not going to get a chance. But fortunately, the weather turned, and as we all know, I had great conditions for 54 hours.
Okay, so you jump in, it's the middle of the night, is it?
Yep, it was midnight, exactly.
And how did you feel coming in? I mean, jumping in, did you feel you're back in form, ready to go, everything is in place? Or did you have any doubts at the beginning?
Yeah, it's not to anyone's benefit to start a swim doubting yourself. And so, anytime I have ever started a swim, I believe in myself. You say, as long as the weather holds and the boat doesn't break down, my body can do this. So, jumping in, I felt pretty confident that, the weather was going to hold, and, Eddie had my back from the boat issue, and there was nothing going to stop me.
And I saw, of course, the routes were amazing, where everybody was following you, and seeing you were hitting the same spot almost on either side. Yep. But, hitting the cape, I think every time you reach, you hit the same spot and then back. But tell us about this, when you reach the English Channel, the English side, San Francisco, and you suddenly see this big wall in front of you. For those who don't understand or don't know the place, there's a big wall at San Francisco. If you hit that wall, there's not a good beach you can find to go out of the water. So how did you feel?
Yeah, so the beach situation was a point of controversy for me during the whole swim. So for those who aren't familiar, the rule in the English Channel, when you're swimming laps back and forth, when you get to one shore, you either exit the water completely on a beach, or you touch a rock if you can't actually get out of the water and it's not safe to climb out. And then you have 10 minutes to, eat something or put more grease or sunscreen on, and then you have to start swimming again. So I had a pretty good suspicion when I landed in France the first time that I was going to be kind of right on the Cape, and I knew that was rocky. So I knew that I would probably just grab a rock and, do what we could to get out there. But when we were coming back to England, I got it in my head that I would have a beach to get out on. I could tell that we were going to land, really close to where we had started, and there's a beach there. I wasn't feeling very well. I'd been a little nauseous, and I kind of told myself if I could just have, 10 minutes to sit on the beach and like stretch my back and kind of just take a deep breath, then I would be fine. So then when we get back to England, there was a lot of boat traffic. So there was another wave of swimmers all going out. And so instead of going to the beach, we just hit the wall instead. So there's a big long seawall. So they took me to the wall so that we would be away from all the other swimmers and not causing anyone else any issues. I didn't know that at the time. And so we land on the wall, and I just started crying. I was sick, and I think the words out of my mouth were, "I'm devastated." And my crew had to hear that like multiple times for hours, how devastated I was that I didn't get to sit on the beach. And I was sick, I threw up my feed from then, and it took about another 6 hours after that to kind of physically and mentally recover. And I totally blame it on not being able to land at the beach for 10 minutes.
Okay. You were mentioning that you didn't feel, I mean, you were nauseous during the first legs.
Yeah. There was,
how long did it take?
yeah, I don't normally get nauseous when I swim. The Cook Strait was actually the first time I've ever thrown up during a swim. In Cook Strait, it was because I was swallowing a lot of water. But almost immediately in this English Channel swim, I did not feel well. So I threw up once about 6 hours in the first leg. So 6 hours in, and I threw up. And I thought, oh, I feel better. I'll be fine now. And then just kind of as lap 1 and lap 2 progressed, I was getting more and more nauseous. I threw up again one more time on lap 2. And then again, okay, I'm going to be fine now. I'm better. And then right at that 24-hour mark at the wall, you know, I started throwing up a lot. And there was 6 hours there between like midnight and 6 a.m. I couldn't tell you how many times I threw up, but it was bad. I couldn't keep anything down. I refused some feeds. They were just giving me water for a while to see if that would help calm my stomach. And they kept telling me, just wait until the sun comes up. You know, if you can make it until the sun comes up, you'll feel better. And I did. They gave me, I actually had some cancer pills to fight nausea that we had them on the boat. I thought my mom might need them. I didn't think that I might need them, but they ended up giving me some of my anti-nausea cancer pills, and that really helped. So kind of by the time the sun came up into lap 3, I was much better. But it was scary for a while as to, you know, if I would physically be able to keep going.
Heather from Northern Ireland, and I'd like to also add to it, it's about your crew, actually. So first of all, if you can remind us who was on your crew and how important is their role. And Heather is asking, do you ask your crew how you are doing with progress along the way, or do you just wait until you reach the end? So yeah, how's your relationship to your crew? Do you have a crew which is going with you throughout all your swims? And who was on your crew?
Yeah, so in this English Channel swim, you have, there was 3 boat captains and 2 observers. So there was 5 people just who had to be there logistically. And then I had 5 of my own crew members. So first of all, my husband Ryan comes with me on all of my swims. And then my mom, Becky, she comes on 99% of my swims. So those 2 have been with me, from the beginning. They've seen me swim a lot. So, I'd be embarrassed to add up how many days they've sat on a boat watching me swim. And then the other 3 people that I had on my crew had either crewed Lake Powell or Lake Champlain for me. So they had seen me do long swims. 2 of them live here in Colorado. They train with me. And then another person, she's a really good friend. And all 3 of those people, Craig, Carl, and Elaine, they've all done the English Channel. They've done ice miles. They're all really good swimmers, and they know what they're doing. They've crewed a lot. So it was important to have, those 5 people who all, liked each other and could handle being on the boat for a couple of days, but who also know me really well and know how to support me really well.
Okay, that's great. Let's go on until to the last leg. This last leg. I mean, we kept watching, and monitoring your docs, as you went along, and the 3 legs seem to be very similar to each other, and then you got to that last 4th leg. Right? What did you feel there?
Yeah, so, I felt fine. The 4th leg was probably physically my best leg. I wasn't feeling sick or tired or anything. And what happened was the tide turned early. And so the tide turned and started to push us kind of away from where we needed to go. And so, I was kind of right about the 48-hour mark, and my friend Craig got into pace swim with me. And he said, Sarah, you're kind of stuck in a current. We have to swim hard for an hour. to get you through this current and into the British inshore waters. And if we can get you into the British inshore waters, you'll be home free. But if we don't, we might have an issue. So Craig got in, he had flippers on, and we sprinted for an hour to get through. And when I was done, Eddie came up and said, yeah, that was enough, good job. And so, at that point I thought we were home free, but then I'm, watching the shore, and there's lights where I could kind of figure out where we were. And I could tell from the lights that we weren't headed back to the same place that we had been the previous night. And so, then I start to think, all right, maybe something isn't quite right in this lab. I had predicted that we would be finished kind of around the 50-hour mark. And I could tell, after my hour of power with Craig at 48 hours, it was going to be longer than that. And then as we're coming in, I see the light starting to show, and I start to panic, like what's happening, and I've got earplugs in and I can't hear especially well, and they're not giving me a ton of information as to what's happening, other than like, Sarah, you have to swim hard, or this current is going to push us back to France. So it was really, the last 4 hours were probably the most stressful of the whole swim, because the currents were just pushing us back and forth, and we didn't know exactly where we were going to land, or if I would have enough energy to push through the current. So it was a stressful lap for sure.
Did you feel that history is being made? Were you aware of that at that moment? Is that an issue, or you're just struggling with yourself?
The only time I ever thought about the history was when I was coming in to do the turn at the end of lap 3 to start lap 4. That was, when I stopped, I was back on the cap hanging onto a rock again. But, there was that moment of, oh my gosh, I'm one of 5 people who's ever done this. So when I came kind of back out to the boat, the boat can't come all the way in. So when I came back out, my crew was like, yay, you're the first person who's ever started the 4th lap. So I think we had that moment, but then after that, you don't think about it. You're just swimming, you're doing the work, and the goal is just to get to the other side.
Okay. Yeah, I remember we were watching, and everybody was mentioning once you got on that rock and you were leaving on the 4th leg, everybody was, cheering, saying, wow, now she is in uncharted territory. From here on, this is something nobody has been done. And that's really when everybody was, clinched into the monitors and monitoring. I think thousands of people all around the world were just, praying and pushing you and cheering you up from all over the world. This was an exciting moment, or exciting few hours, long hours for all of us.
For me too.
I don't know if it's harder for us or for you, but what does this amazing swim mean for you?
To me, it was kind of just a big, like, screw you, cancer, kind of a moment. You know what I mean? Like, it was a victory over cancer, not over really anything else other than, I did it and I'm back to myself, and, cancer, beat me down and it broke me and it hurt me, but, I still won. And I think that is the importance of it to me is, I came back, I didn't let cancer defeat me mentally or physically, to get back to doing what I love, and I love being in the water. I love open water swimming, and if I had lost it, it would be hard. So it's, this swim is just it was kind of a victory swim for me in a lot of ways.
That's an amazing, words. We're so touching, and you have dedicated also your swim to all cancer survivors out there. What is your message to them?
So many times we are not in control of our bodies when we are fighting cancer. So much of it is luck. Will our bodies respond to treatment? And you don't know that until you're in the middle of it. So my journey is different than anyone else's journey. but if I had to say one thing to someone who is fighting cancer or surviving cancer, is just to, to keep pushing and keep trying and not to ever lose hope. Because, as long as you're breathing, then there's a chance that you can push through.
Right on. What is the one dream that you have and you feel that you haven't accomplished yet?
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't planned another swim. Everyone always wants to know what's next. I don't have anything, kind of on the books and planned, but I know that there will be. I would like to do a 100-mile ocean swim. I don't know where. So if anyone has suggestions, I'm open to suggestions. But
I'm sure you're gonna promise.
Yes, but yeah, it's just, I'm not done. I love swimming, and as long as my arms keep moving around in circles, I will be out there.
Okay, what is your message to our audience here? They're mostly marathon and open water swimmers who are on this meeting today. What is your message to them?
The thing I hate the most about all of this is, people who will come to me and they'll say, Sarah, I'm just going to swim the English Channel one time. And like I won't be impressed with their one time of English Channel swimming. To me, it doesn't matter if you are trying to swim a 1K or a 100K. It doesn't matter. If you're challenging yourself and pushing yourself, then that is a huge deal, and you should be proud of your accomplishments. So don't ever compare yourself to anyone else, and be proud of yourself, and brag about your accomplishments no matter what they are. No matter how small they seem to anyone else, if it's a big deal to you, then it's important. And it's important to have goals and dreams no matter what they are. So, get out there, start one step at a time.
Yeah, that's great advice. Saying that exactly, mentioning that. Yeah, great advice. Thank you, Sal. And let's see if we can get a few more questions from the audience here.
This has been a great interview.
Thanks.
Is there any other questions, guys, that you want to add here before we wrap it up?
I would like to ask a question.
Yes, go ahead. Tomas?
Tomas from Poland. Hi, Sarah.
Oh, hi.
Thank you for amazing adventure. Greetings from Poland. I would like to ask you about one question. What is your favorite swimmer? Open water swimmer or from the swimming pool? Have you got some role model, and can you say something about this?
I mean, there are so many swimmers out there who have inspired me and motivated me. Sal just popped her head in there, and I remember following her English Channel two-way and being completely and utterly inspired by her. There's Pat Sheree, who lives in the United States, and she's older as well, and she's still out there, totally doing her thing and, being amazing. Obviously I have a lot of respect for Chloe McCardle. She does crazy, amazing swims as well. But if I had to name my number one favorite open water swimmer, it's my buddy here, Craig Lenning. He got me into the sport. He mentored me, taught me everything that I know, supports me to this day on long swims. And, if I had to love on someone, I've got to say Craig he's number one. He's my buddy.
That's great. Anybody else? There's a Tim, I think Tim Bird wants to ask, trying to train for a track channel relay in COVID. Any thoughts about how to address anxiety? We won't be able to prepare in a paddling pool. What do you say about the situation actually that we are all faced in, with this lockdown right now?
Yeah, it's a terrible situation, and I feel for everyone who has any type of a swim scheduled this summer. I coach a couple of people, and what I'm telling them is just keep up your fitness. Whatever you're doing, running, walking, biking, lifting weights, doing stretch cords, doing core work. If you keep your fitness up right now, when we can get back into the pools or the lakes or the oceans, you'll be surprised how fast you do get your swimming fitness back. So just stay positive, do what you can, and give yourself some grace. It won't be perfect training, but as long as you're doing your best, then it will be good enough, I promise.
That's great. I think everybody is impressed. Thank you. And I have one question, okay, Sarah? So from the Galilee Marathon Swimming Association, we would like just say, at least if we're not a question, but we hope to see you come and swim the Galilee. The Galilee swim is now one of the 8 Stills water challenge. And you've done a couple of those swims, so why not add a Galilee swim someday?
I would love to. Excellent. As soon as we can get out of the United States, I will do my best to get there. I'm definitely a swim that I would love to do, even before this. So I would be excited to come.
We would love to see you here, Sarah. So thank you so much, Sarah, for this extraordinary story and interview. You are a wonderful person.
Well, thank you.
You are a great athlete. So it was an honor to have you with us here. And your achievements are enormous. I saw somebody mentioning it's not only enormous, it's surmongous. Feats of endurance. So your personal story for sure has touched everyone here and much beyond. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. And good night, guys.
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah. That was lovely.
Thank you, Sarah.
תודה רבה.
Sarah, it was great. Truly inspiring.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah, you can read the chat. So many people are writing down.
Thank you.
Yes, that's like reading the chat. It's great.
You did great.
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you, Sarah and guys.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, wife.
Hi, husband.
Husband.
All right, I'm gonna see you guys later.
That's it. She's gone. גיא, כל הכבוד. מדהים. Congratulations.
Thanks for Grace.
And Eyal too. I know how hard it must have been and how stressful.
Still is.
Okay, so she's coming to swim Galilee.
We'll carry both, Avishag, you and her together.
I hope so.
טוב.
Thank you. We'll wrap it up and thank you all. Good night. Laila Tov. Shalom.
Bye.